Hi, in this recipe I'm going to be making one of my all-time favourites, and that's cinnamon buns. I must admit I've been making cinnamon buns for years. I have been doing it the manual way, so I suppose it's getting everything ready, putting it in the bowl, and there's quite a lot of manual process, but since I'm borrowing this for this week, I thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare my manual process to making it in the Thermomix, and hopefully it should be quite a bit easier. So I've found a recipe on the Cookie Do app, and I've got the ingredients ready just to the side, and I'm going to start this. So we need to get 80 grams of water, just need to be careful not to overdo it. Jig a little amount more, there we go. So next, 80 grams of milk. I do love the scales on this. It just makes life so much easier, especially when it comes to pouring the liquids in. Now, next, 30 grams of plain flour. So let me just get the plain flour. I must admit, I wasn't that prepared. So there we go. Put a spoon. Plain flour. Here we go. The only hint I'd say is just make sure that when you are putting everything in, sometimes you'll take the lid off, sometimes you'll have the simmering basket on. If you're going to take the lid off or change it, just make sure that the scales at the bottom says 0 grams. If it doesn't, if it's showing a minus, then just press the tear button at the bottom, and all that does is just zero the scales. So let's pop some of the flour on there. Let's say 12 grams, 21 grams. Just put it in gently. I just don't want to overdo this. 29. Just a tap on the side. There we go, 30 grams, spot on. And next, insert measuring cup into the mixing bowl lid. That's the measuring cup. Then, so turn speed selector to 3. So this is going to heat it up a little bit. It's just going to take it up to 80 degrees. And it's going to take around 3 minutes. So I'm just going to let it do that. There we go, so that part's done now. Let's click next. Add to cool. So sorry, I'll add. So allow to cool in the mixing bowl for approximately 10 minutes. So just have a quick look in there. So that's heated it up quite nicely. I can just feel a little bit of residual heat in there. It's not too hot, as I say, it's only heated it up to around 80 degrees. So I'm just going to allow it to cool for about 10 minutes in the mixing bowl. Just leave the lid on and I'll come back. So lightly grease a large bowl and set aside. I must admit, I've already had a look and I have got a large bowl. Just going to set that aside now as per the instructions. Next, add 170 grams of milk. Just take the lid off to do that. Just make sure that is on 0. 170. There we are, 172, that's good enough for me. So, next we will add the 2 eggs. Now, I've got the 2 eggs in here. I've already cracked them because I think it's much safer to do that. Just make sure that there's no shell that gets in there. One thing I do find is that I tried it on something else, I can't remember which recipe it was, but I tried cracking an egg, a little bit of shell got in there, so I had to get that out. But what I've done is I've put those into the bowl, so they're all ready. 10 grams of dried instant yeast. So I've got some in a packet here. Put that to the side. Right, here we go. So make sure that's on 0. So that's at 7 grams. and I should have known that because these are clearly 7-gram packets, but I'm going to do this properly. So we'll open another packet and let's add another 3 grams in there. There we are. So then next, 90 grams of unsalted butter, softened. So we've got some butter here. Add the 90 grams, 26. Here we go. So we're at 58 grams so far, so we can't be too far off. 77, 85, just a little amount more. There we go, 90 grams, absolutely spot on. Now insert the measuring cup into the mixing bowl lid. Measuring cup, there we are, so that's all in there. And what we need to do is to turn the speed selector to speed 4. And this is a quick one, so it will only heat it a little bit, up to 37 degrees centigrade, but it's only a really quick one, as I say, just mixing it. It's just another 10 seconds to go. So I think we'll just wait, there's no point stopping and no starting again. We just got 2, 1. There we are, all done. So 500 grams of baker's flour. Now I must admit, I did have to have a look to see what baker's flour was. This is, I suppose in the UK it's known a little bit more as bread flour, but apparently baker's flour is a little bit higher end than standard bread flour. But it's certainly recommended to use bread flour rather than normal plain or self-raising flour. If you used other types of flour, if you're making things like cinnamon buns, let me know what you think, because I might be wrong on this kind of flour. I suppose the proof will be in the pudding, literally. But let me know what you think. If you've used a different type of flour when you're making this, then let me know your thoughts. So just make sure we zero that. So we're going for 500 grams. And I've known that I would get through to my second bag. So we're at 170 at the moment. 328. That's it. 470. 480. 489. 493. There we are. That's good enough for me. 501 grams. Right, next, 1 teaspoon of sea salt. That's enough for me. Insert measuring cup into the mixing bowl lid. Then, I love how it says then. It's almost like there's loads of anticipation in this. Then, so turn speed selector to start. There we go. So this is actually going to knead it for us. Now this is something that I must admit I don't mind doing. This is something I quite enjoy doing, you know, getting the dough all together. But there's normally quite a fine line as to getting the right consistency. But the advantage is that the Thermomix is taking all of the work away from us as far as doing that. So it's going to do it for about another 3.5 minutes. So I'm just going to let it do its thing. There we are. So that mode is done now. Press next. Place on a large silicone bread mat or lightly floured work surface and form into a ball. So what I'm going to do is, you see that? There we are. So it's quite sticky at the moment. Oh, always love the smell of that. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop it onto the work surface. I need to get some flour, just pop it on there, and then just make it into a ball. So all I did just on the side there was make it into a ball. I must admit I did have to add a little bit of extra flour. That's why I got the little floury fingers here. But all that did is it just stopped the stickiness, just stopped it sticking to the worktop. There wasn't much at all. There was only probably I don't know, say 10 or 15 grams of flour. But all I've done is I've put it into the bowl here, and all you need to do is to pop a towel or something on top and just pop it into a warm area. So at the moment it's pretty warm in the conservatory here, so I'm just going to pop a towel on and then go and pop it in the conservatory. And that's saying to do it for approximately 45 minutes. I suppose that's quite a good time to just starting to clear up. It's a little bit messy in the kitchen here at the moment. So just while I'm waiting for that, what I have done is I've just given this a clean, just to make sure there's no dough in here. I must admit it got a little bit sticky in there. I had to take it apart and give it quite a good rinse. What I try and do is try and make sure I don't get the contacts wet, because really once you've washed this, then you should wait until it's completely dry. But it's really good because I didn't get any of that wet, so that's good. I can carry on with it straight away. But all I need to do is you can actually carry on, so rather than just waiting for a time, then we can just carry on with the recipe. So all we need to do is to, well, just zero that, add 250 grams of brown sugar, let's hope I've got enough in here. Let's just open the pack out a little bit. I think we're just going to have enough. 245, 256, that's it. Good enough for me. Add 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. Let's just get a teaspoon. Got my ground cinnamon ready. There we are. A little bit extra. I must admit, I do love cinnamon. Here we go, 1 teaspoon of ground cardamom. I must admit, I've not got that. So it does say optional. And I suppose really it's down to personal taste, but I haven't got it in at the moment. Teaspoon of ground cloves, again, I haven't got that. 150 grams of unsalted butter, which I have got. And we do need to add that to the recipe. You're not going to get very far without the butter. So come on, off you get. That's it. So I'm only going to need another 14 grams. 146. Yeah, 149. That is good enough for me. Right. So insert the measuring cup into the mixing bowl lid. Then, so turn speed selector to speed 4. There we are. That's done now. Click next. Place in a bowl and set aside. There we are. Let's just show you this. Look at that bad boy. There we go. So all I'm going to do is let's get a bowl, and I'm going to get the spatula just down the back here. This is where this spatula is really good, because I suppose first of all it doesn't scratch the stainless steel. That's the last thing you want to do, and also it's like it's shaped to go around the edge. I'm sure that's something that they thought of when it comes to manufacturing this. Just make sure that when you put it in, you scrape it around the side and you can see it's angled slightly. So really good design. Well done, Thermomix. Just going to get this out, and the reason I'm doing this while I keep the video rolling, I'm purposely not going to pause this, is that's it, stay there. Right, so you can see how much I've got out. Hopefully you can see that there is quite, well, there's very, very little left. Just trying to get in the light. You can see the bottom of the container. So when it comes to cleaning this, there's very, very little that I'm going to waste, which is always fantastic. Next, clean and dry the mixing bowl. There we go. So I'm just going to go and clean this, and then we'll come back. And just while I dry this, again, what I have done is I've made sure I've not got the contacts wet at the bottom. That's the last thing I want to do. And I do love about this is just putting it back together. Just so easy. I just love how simple it is. All you do is you just pop the blade in there, and then you get this, the bottom part, twist it, that's it, and it's back on like that. And at all times you are not touching the blade, so as long as you're careful with it, there's no risk that you're going to cut yourself. So clean and dry the mixing bowl. I've done that. Let's just give the lid a quick rinse, because that's a little bit dirty. I always think if I try and keep it nice and clean as we go along, then that's always going to be better. There we are. So, one nice clean lid. Just give that a quick dry. There we go. Ready to rock and roll. Here we go. So, 120 grams of caster sugar. Now the next stage is just for the topping of the cinnamon buns, but I am going to cheat a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it separately. There is a topping that I've got, which is mainly consists of icing sugar, so this next stage I'm just going to skip all of the phases, and that's a good thing. You know, it's not insisting that I go through every process. That's another thing I do like about the Thermomix. As I mentioned towards the beginning of the video, it is really designed for, I suppose, amateurs, but also more professional chefs. It doesn't matter which end of the scale you're at. I'd certainly say I'm definitely not on the professional chef side. I suppose I view myself as probably a bit halfway in between. I do love baking, but I've got quite a good idea as to how to make things, and I get quite enthusiastic when it comes to cooking, which hopefully you got from this video as well. But let's just skip some of this. So what we're going to do is to, again, that's saying place a bowl and set aside, so that's assuming that I've got the topping for the cinnamon buns. So then it's saying just then lightly grease a baking tray and set aside. And it's got a little video on here, which I must admit, this is the first time from the recipes I've made so far, first time we've got a video on here. So this is actually showing the process for putting the dough onto a surface. So put it onto a lightly floured surface, roll it out into a certain size. Must admit, this is absolutely fantastic. Hopefully you can see that from there. So I'll just switch the camera angle around a little bit, and all we need to do now is just to get the mixture and spread it evenly over the dough mix. So all you need to do is when you roll it out, you just need to make sure that it's around 1 centimetre thick. It's quite important to leave the thickness on there. But this is the process I like. I do enjoy this bit. Just get it evenly spread. There's different ways you can do it. I suppose you can use the spatula. I suppose a palette knife is the preferred way. I tend to be a little bit more amateur, a little bit more rough and ready. That's why I'm just using a back of a spoon to do this. But I think essentially it's doing a similar job. I always try and spread it evenly over the dough mixture, because you just want to make sure you get an even coverage. There we go. So I think for the purpose of that should be alright. And pop the spoon to the side, and we're going to roll it. So just going to roll it like this. That's why it's quite important to make sure you do this on a dusted surface, because you don't want it to stick. Let's just pull that on a little bit. There we go. And what you want to do is to get a sharp knife. Now I know it's not the ideal knife to do this, but the reason I like this is it's really, really sharp, and just cut it into around 12 pieces. So I'm going to try this, be again a little bit crude when it comes to this. So I always do it so that, let's see, so I'll do it into quarters first. There we go. And then I tend to cut each one into approximately 3. Oh, I failed on that one, didn't I? But it doesn't really matter. All it means is that you've got different size cinnamon buns. So let's do that. There we are. And hopefully you can see that it's really light. I do like the recipe. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my tray, and I'm actually going to put some greaseproof paper on it because I don't want it to stick, and just spread them out evenly, making sure there's a little space in between. So I'll quickly show you that. So I tried to spread them out pretty evenly over the baking tray. I've just put some of the greaseproof paper. Think about what that was. Just put the greaseproof paper underneath. Hopefully it won't stick then. There's nothing more annoying than having a pan where they're going to stick afterwards. That's really frustrating. And then the idea is that you just want to cover them, leave them for ideally about an hour to an hour and a half before you start to cook them. So that's what I'm going to do. So you can probably hear the Thermomix going in the background. This is making one of the other recipes that I've made today. But anyway, these are the cinnamon buns. So they've been in the oven for, it's around 20 minutes. I've just taken them out, and at the moment they're still on the greaseproof paper. What I'm going to do is I've just mixed up some icing sugar here. I know you can make your own icing sugar in the Thermomix. It is a good recipe. I've seen it done, and it is a lot cheaper to produce than the packet icing sugar. But I'll be honest, time is quite critical at the moment, and I just want to get this done, because as I have possibly mentioned, I've got 3 recipes going on today, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour the icing sugar all the way over this. You don't normally need too much on here. I have done it once before in one of my other recipes, where I must admit I did put too much icing sugar on, and I think it really spoiled it. But I must say, these are looking fantastic. And I think what we need to do is, so that should be okay for now. I'll probably come along in a minute and just finish off. So as I say, they are looking absolutely fantastic. And I hate to say it, I think they even look better than the other recipe that I do. So what I'm going to do, let's get this back one, because this one is looking probably one of the better ones. And you can probably see here how light and fluffy it is. So I'm actually going to try a bit of this. Look at that. Look how, I'm not sure if you can see this, but that is just so fluffy. Unbelievable. Oh. Nom nom. Right, that is absolutely stunning. And I think that's actually cooked to perfection as well. It's probably a little bit hot at the moment, but all I'm going to do is I'm going to take these off, put them on the baking tray to cool properly, and I hope you've enjoyed this recipe of the cinnamon buns. Hi, in this recipe I'm going to be making something called Mardi Gras Meatballs. At the moment, when I'm recording this, it's a Sunday afternoon. It's quite damp outside. It's pretty pitch black now, because it's a bit later on in the day. It's about 4:30, 4:45 now. But what I wanted to do was just have a look through and look for something different to eat tonight with William. It's just the two of us here at the moment. So we had a quick look through the Cookie Dough app. I've got some mince that I wanted to use. And traditionally I'd do something probably like a cottage pie. At the moment, sometimes on a Sunday we've had like a roast dinner where I have like a lovely beef joint with potatoes and veg, but I didn't really fancy that today. I thought let's have something a little bit different. So again, I said we had a quick look through. It only took us a couple of minutes to find the recipe on the Cookie Dough app. So I've got everything hopefully prepared. I'm sure there's something I've forgotten because there always is. Anyway, let's start cooking. So 60 grams of bread torn into pieces. Let's just take the lid off, just zero that. So just torn into pieces. So 60 grams isn't actually a lot by the time you have a look. So one slice was already 43 grams. So I would hazard a guess that around 1.5 slices will do. Let's pop that in. 61 grams, bang on, 1.5 slices. Next, insert the measuring cup into the mixing bowl lid. Where's it gone? There we are. Pop that on there. Then we need to turn the speed selector to 9. Now this is only going to be for 5 seconds. The thing is, what you need to do is there's no point in turning it up gradually. You might as well just turn it all the way to number 9 straight away. There we are. Only did it for 5 seconds, and that's grated the bread in there. Next, transfer to a bowl and set aside. So, oh, there we go. So you can see that it's grated the bread absolutely brilliant into breadcrumbs. So I'm just going to get the plate actually. Let's cheat. So let's pop that on there. There we are. Split left there. So there we go. Now, what do we need to do next? 120 grams of onions quartered. Now, what I have done is I have got one big onion. So I'm just going to chop this into smaller pieces. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to chop it up finely because the Thermomix is going to do that for you. So let's just pop that in there. That's 58 grams. Let's pop it in. So, gone a little bit over. So where are we? 125, look at that. Almost bang on. Next, insert the measuring cup into the mixing bowl lid. You can see what we're doing here. Next, turn speed selector to 5. And again, it's only for 5 seconds. So it's just a really quick one. It's almost doing a little dance as it gets going. There we are. Next, scrape down the sides of the spatula. Oh, wait for the lid to open. There we are. So let's show you the spatula. I've just washed this up from one of the other recipes. So you can see that it's all around the side at the moment. And let's just get all that. Just get it from around the side. Just going to have a quick look because it doesn't say. So we're not taking this out, we're going to leave the onion in there. So add around 500 grams of mince. Add the mince in there. Next, add the reserved breadcrumbs. There we are. Put that to the side. I'm just going to rinse my fingers because they're a little bit sticky at the moment and I don't like to touch anything after. Now, I must apologise. Let me just show you this because what I've done. This is really embarrassing. Look, I've been making, so this is a Sunday afternoon, as I say. It's getting me late on in the day. I've actually made 3 recipes this afternoon. One of them I've had help from William, but I was kindly given this. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be given it or whether I'm just being lent it, but this is the Thermomix apron. I think by the look of this, I'm going to be given this because this is embarrassing. Look at this, I've got oat milk all down me. So I do need to make sure that once I finish this, So if you're getting this back, Louise, then I do apologise, but I will make sure that I give it a good wash before I get it returned. Anyway, I've put the reserve breadcrumbs in there, and what's the next one? So 1 medium egg. What I've done is I've already cracked an egg into a bowl. Let's just pop that in there. There we go. The advantage of doing it into a separate bowl is it just guarantees that if you get any shell in there, then you can just scrape it out. You just, well, pick it out. Just get a little spoon and get the shell out. I've done it before where I've cracked the egg into there. I can't remember which recipe it was, but I cracked an egg and I got a bit of shell in there and it was quite difficult to get out. Anyway, 1 teaspoon of fine sea salt, but just crack some salt in there. There we go. And half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. Again, not too dissimilar, the amount we've put on there. Right, so pop those two on. So measuring cup into the mixing bowl lid. Then we're going to turn the speed selector to 4. Here we go. So it's going to mix it all together. This just saves you having to do it by hand. There we are. 10 seconds later, we're done. So tip out and shape the mixture into, thank you. So let's see what this is like. So it's not bad. So it's pretty mixed in there. As you can see, we've got some of the onion in there. I do like it that the onion isn't too finely chopped. I quite like it where you've got the onion, so you can taste it and you can almost get the complete flavour from it. But all you need to do now is to pour this out. So what does it say? Tip out and shape mixture into approximately 20 meatballs. So that's what I'm going to do now. So now I've done that, I'll just show you. I've actually got 2 plates, so I've got 20 meatballs exactly. I always try and get them about the same size. The advantage is if you get them all around the same size, they're going to cook about the same speed. That's always quite important. You want to make sure they're cooked evenly all the way through as well. So it says raw meatballs in plain flour and set aside. That's what I've done. Next, clean the mixing bowl. I've already done that. Clearly, because we've got raw meat in there, then I just wanted to make sure that everything is completely and utterly clean. So next thing is 120 grams of onions again. So let's pop them in here. Now, rather than 2 small onions, which is what it recommends in the recipe, I've just got 1 big onion and I just chopped it up roughly. It doesn't have to be too accurate, but I just want to make sure that what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put, right, let's chop this up a little bit smaller. I'm just going to put a little bit more in there because that's finished the onion. That's a good thing about cooking. It doesn't matter if I suppose with some things, I mean this is for the sauce, so I'll put a little bit of extra onion in. It's something I really like myself, so I've just added a little bit more in. 2 tablespoons. Try and get my words right there. So just get the spoon. So 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. There we go. Pop that in there. Other side. I've got a huge clearing up job. As I mentioned earlier, I've been making 3 recipes this afternoon on this miserable Sunday afternoon. I'm not going to show you the rest of the kitchen because it is quite a mess at the moment, but that's the advantage of cooking. So what have we got? So 1 green pepper, cut into 8s. Now, I must admit, I haven't got a green pepper, but what I've done is I've got a red and I've got a yellow pepper. So I'm actually going to put these 2 in. So cut into 8s. Let's pop that in there. And the red pepper, so I have got a red pepper this time. And there we go. Put it all in. There we go. Next, 1 garlic clove. Must admit, William's not too keen on garlic, so I'm just going to leave that out. It's only 1 clove, so there wouldn't be a huge amount of flavour in there anyway. Insert the mixing cup into a mixing bowl lid. Then, So turn the speed selector to speed 5. Two seconds. That wasn't very long. I'm actually going to have a quick look, because what I am going to do now, it's the first time you will see that there are quite a few different sizes, and I think clearly I didn't cut up the onion small enough. So what I'm going to do, it's the only time I've ever done this using the Thermomix. I'm actually going to go back, and that's a good thing about this, that if you've either missed a stage, or if you want to redo a stage, or just go back a couple of stages, you just got the back button. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to repeat that. So take it up to 5. Just want to do it again. Next. Let's see. Look at that. Much better. Everything is the same size now. So that will teach me for not cutting up the onion small enough. So let's take the measuring cup off, place the simmering basket on top. Then for 10 minutes we're going to turn the speed selector to 0.5, and this is going to heat up to around 100 degrees, and this is going to, well, so it's around 10 minutes. So it's cooking with simmering basket in place of the measuring cup. So I'm just going to leave this for 10 minutes. So now that's finished, you might hear there's a little bit of sizzling in the background. What I've done is I've actually jumped a couple of steps ahead, and I've just had a quick look to see what was happening. And the meatballs I've just put in a frying pan to fry. They only need to be on quite a low temperature because it's quite a low heat. So I've just got those sizzling away in the background. Anyway, now that this is finished, let's take that off. Now we need to add 400 grams of tinned chopped tomatoes. So you can see that steaming away. Oh, it smells awesome. Add the 400 grams. Oh, I'm probably jumping a little bit ahead. 1 teaspoon of pomegranate molasses. I must admit I haven't got that, so I'm going to risk that not going in. A tablespoon of lemon juice. So let's get the lemon juice out the cupboard. So a tablespoon of lemon juice. There we go. Next one pinch of dried bay leaves. I haven't got any of that. So Tabasco sauce. I must admit, William really doesn't like it too spicy, so I'm actually going to leave the Tabasco out. Personally, I would love it spicy, but anyway. Just get the microphone out of there. I do really hope that that didn't affect the audio quality, but anyway, half a teaspoon of salt. Get that back out. There we go. Quarter of a teaspoon of ground black pepper. Unfortunately, I started to tidy up and put some things away. There we go. Pop that in there. Place the simmering basket on top of the mixing bowl lid. So pop that back on. Then, so 15 minutes this is. So all we need to do is just go back a touch. So cooking, so with the simmering basket in place, with the measuring cup, and meanwhile follow the next step. Next, heat 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil in a large frying pan over medium heat and fry the meatballs in batches so they're just browned all over. That's what I've already started to do, because I do need to crack on with this, and all I want to do at the moment is to make sure they're done. So I'm just going to carry on turning those, perhaps add a touch more oil. As you can see, they could do with getting a little bit dry in there. I'm actually going to serve it with pasta, so I'm just going to get some boiling water as well, just get that going. There we go, so that stage is finished, and click next. So clearly, you know, me jumping ahead a little bit, I suppose has helped a little bit. I must admit I would have had time anyway had I followed the main instructions. But all we need to do now is to add the browned meatballs. Now that is looking fantastic. Hopefully you can see that. Just, I don't want to tip it out. Anyway, add the meatballs. So they don't need to be cooked all the way through. All we need to do is just make sure the edges are brown. So let's just pop all of those in there. There we go. So next thing we need to do, place the simmering basket instead of the measuring cup on top. There we go, click next. This one, so it's going to heat it up to 98 degrees, and this is going to be for 20 minutes. So this is a really good opportunity. You might hear in the background the gas is on at the moment. I've just put some pasta on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn that down, just let it simmer, and hopefully everything should be ready in about 20 minutes. Right, there we go. So, finally finished. Next, garnish with roughly chopped fresh parsley leaves if used, and with rice or pasta. So clearly I've done it with some pasta, but what I want to do is I'm just going to see what this is like, because this is looking awesome. So what I'm going to do, I am going to dish up. So let's put a portion there. Let's get some of these. Here we go. So I've got some of the meatballs. Let's just get a cheeky bit of sauce on top. This is it. So this is the Mardi Gras meatballs. I'm just going to show you this. Let's just tilt the camera down, because I think this is, get this into, oh, nearly spilled it. That would have ruined it, wouldn't it? But that is looking absolutely fantastic. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to dish up another portion, and I'm going to go and enjoy this with William. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this recipe.